Warning: the following program contains adult language, adult themes, and spoilers. Viewer discretion is advised.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of This Week's Episode. It's Thursday, February 10th, 8:55 p.m. None of the names in this show have been changed. We are not protecting anybody. I am Evan Goldstein, and with me as always is the juvenile experiment, Kris Rendazzo.
Get those sugar cubes down to the crime lab.
The dirty disbeliever, Karen Rendazzo.
My hair is green and I'm a tree now.
And the best partner a guy could have, Angie Fernot.
I carry a badge.
We here on this week's... I can't do it anymore. We here on this week's episode of Talk Television. This week is a listener episode. Ferg from... What's the name of his podcast?
Wow.
The Atari 2600 Game by Game podcast.
Okay. Hopefully your audio picked that up because your internet glitched there for a second and I couldn't... But I know it's Game by Game podcast. It's the Atari 2600.
It's the Atari 2600 Game by Game podcast. There it is.
He wrote in and he made a suggestion for us to watch something, so we begrudgingly have done it. We will be talking in the second half of our show about Dragnet, the 1967 version, Season 1, Episode 1, the LSD story. But before we get into that, here's your weekly reminder that you can get in touch with us at mail@geekaid.com. Just write in the subject line this week's episode and just say hello. Tell us what we should be watching. Like, make a suggestion. We will watch it.
Today's proof of that.
This is literal proof of that true. So let's talk about what we've been watching, because I know I got some things to say. I know Kris has some things to say because we started saying them last night. Dan was surprisingly quiet, which is shocking. But
because he hasn't seen it yet.
That's true. So let's just, hey guys, how are you? What you been watching?
Well, if you don't mind me jumping in to kick things off, we finished season 1 of Picard.
Ooh,
Star Trek Picard, and I was just so very happy with it. I thought that show was really freaking good.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was.
That's okay. So
do we start pushing through that?
Like,
was that?
Didn't that just finish? Like, isn't it into second season already? Like, that came out a while ago.
They just released the trailer for the second season, a week or two ago.
Okay,
and we talked about it on the show. Did we talk about since Karen and I started watching it?
Okay, I don't think so.
That's a tall order asking us to remember things.
I couldn't remember where the last place we were. So we had been watching, some stuff and something wrapped up. What did we finish? Goodness, it was Wheel of Time, I think, was we finished.
Yep.
And then I had said that I really, after watching the trailer for Picard Season 2, I said I really wanted to watch the second season of the show, and I really wanted to finish watching the first one, but I was having a hard time finding the time to do that on my own. Like, when I'm regularly working, I just don't have an hour each day to dedicate to watching a show.
Right. Well, Kris, there's a solution. Stop working.
But then I won't be able to afford TV.
It's a vicious cycle.
Indeed. So I asked her if she would be okay with watching Picard with me, and if she hated it, then we could duck out. I would take no offense, but if she wouldn't mind giving it a proper go, and we did, and she didn't hate it, so we kept watching it. And I was just really, really into it. I thought it was very interesting. I love Star Trek, and I have such a connection to Star Trek, and I haven't messed with it in such a long time because it's never been one of those things that the two of us watch together.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like when I was a kid, my dad was a Star Trek fan, and I used to cuddle up next to him in our family recliner and watch new episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation. We watched, I would assume, that entire show. and we watched all of Deep Space Nine together as well. And I just have such fond memories of that. And I always loved that, just the idea of Trek and the characters and how weird they were. And I loved the uniforms, the way they all matched, the color coding and everything like that. It all just made me very, very happy. So I not having anything regular Star Trek in my life for a long time was not like a general like, oh man, this is a huge bummer to me on a daily basis, but it's like I kind of miss it, and especially with this kind of like Star Trek renaissance that's going on right now. Like, yeah, Discovery happened, and then they're putting a lot of effort into Star Trek stuff right now for the last couple of years, and I've been wanting to watch Discovery since it came out, and just like it just never came up. So, but I had such a huge nostalgic connection to Next Gen. Right. And so when Picard came out, I was just really fascinated by the idea of it. And, we watched, I think, the first one for the show, and I was like, well, this is really interesting. I'm into this. And then, I tried watching, like, I got through over the course of several months. I got through maybe episode 3, I think, was as far as I got. 3 or 4 was as far as I was able to get, like, trying to watch it on my own. And they were like, there was like more than a month in between each episode viewing, so I was really it wasn't, fitting continuity wise in my head. Like, that's a long time to wait. Yeah, it was like, I remember you wait month to month to read comics, but when you're going more than a month between issues of something or between episodes of something, it's like, it's kind of hard to feel that episode by episode connection, at least for me.
No, so every once in a while we'll catch ourselves going, what happened at the end of that last episode? Like, and it's not been a month. Like, it's been a week.
So getting a chance to watch the show, it just made me extraordinarily happy, and I thought it was really good. And it had had a pretty interesting ending. I think it was pretty creative. It was really nice to see some of the returning characters. It was pretty cool to see Will Riker and Deanna Troi grew up, got married, and had some kids, and moved to a planet in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty sweet. And just like, Picard's relationship with them and all the new characters they introduced, I think were very interesting. Allison Pill is in it. I first saw in Scott Pilgrim, and then also very much enjoyed in Newsroom. So, I haven't seen her do anything outside those two things, but I really enjoyed her. She was kind of the only one I recognized, though. They had, like, besides other Star Trek alums. Right. But, and Jerry Ryan's character showed up, but I never really watched Voyager, so that was kind of new to me. Like, I didn't really know much about the character of 7 of 9, other than that she was somehow related to the Borg. Mm-hmm. But it was a really good story. It was a really good show. I'm so happy that it exists, and I'm very excited to see season 2.
Yeah, I remember us talking about it a while ago, that it was like the first episode, like, it became very engaging, and then it seemed to like slow a little bit. And if I recall correctly, like, that's when you started falling. But you always said, I'm going to finish this show. I'm going to watch this show. And I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Like, it turned out nice.
Oh yeah. Once I got barreling through it, an episode a night or something, I was really, really enthralled by it. I thought it was very fascinating, and it made me happy.
Yay.
That's good.
I also enjoyed it, and I am not a Star Trek person. I the most Star Trek thing that I am is, like, my parents showed me.
Yeah. Closest I get to Star Trek is Doctor Who.
Not quite. No, my parents showed me some of the original series movies when I was a kid, and I liked those, but I never just never got into Star Trek, actually. So coming into it from, like, having no familiarity with TNG, it was it was just completely fine for me to be able to follow, and I agree with all of the great things that Kris said about it, except that every time I see Allison Pill in anything, I'm like, I have a hard time from my brain thinking anything other than we're here to sell out and make money and stuff.
That's the best line in the movie.
So, yeah.
Well, we did like those the Star Trek movies, the J.J. Abrams ones. I remember we went to go see those
I guess that I don't count those as much because they're not in the same continuity as the TV shows and original series movies.
They're a very different feeling.
Very, very.
I think I saw Is there a movie called Star Trek Generations and it has Kirk and Picard?
Yes.
I thought so.
I also there was an element of silliness to this show that kind of surprised me. They had there's an episode where they had to all dress up as gangsters and play parts, and I think that's something that happened on the show from time to time. So that was pretty cute. And then there's holograms all over the ship that are all they're all the captain, and it's just the actor who plays the captain doing different characters, and they all have different personalities and different accents.
It's very silly.
That was very silly and ridiculous, but enjoyable. Because the captain himself is a gruff, badass kind of guy, and then there's the Irish guy, and I don't know. It was funny.
Nice.
Yeah, the guy at engineering was him, but Scotty. So that was amusing.
Oh, I didn't even make that connection that he was Scottish. Jesus Christ. One of the few things I actually know about Star Trek, and it went out of my head. I did keep wanting, because Allison Pill's character is a doctor, and I kept wanting her to be like, I'm a doctor, damn it.
Yeah, get her. Gosh, she's so different from Bones. That would make that so much funnier.
Opportunity missed.
Yeah.
Well, there's always season 2.
I know, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was
And this was always a CBS All Access show, and then whatever, now CBS All Access is Paramount Plus. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay, so it was never on CBS, and that makes sense to me because this show is good. There's no we watched other things that are CBS products, and it's well, this has the flavor of CBS all over it.
And what's odd, it's a very different flavor than sci-fi. Like a sci-fi show, a sci-fi show, but it's completely different flavor.
Sure do. Also, this show had a lot of cursing. Which I'm not complaining about, but it was just kind of
a little jarring.
As jarring is the right word. It took me by surprise to hear people be like, I can't make the fucking ship go, and I'm like, what?
Hello.
This is Star Trek. That doesn't happen here.
I've been waiting a long time to say this. Shut the fuck up, Picard.
Oh my god, that actually happened. It was great.
That did happen.
Awesome.
Somebody in a position of power told that to him, and it was wonderful. Yeah, I just loved the show. I thought it was so good, and I know that there are a lot of diehard Star Trek fans out there that did not care for this show. I'm not entirely sure why, and I really don't care at this point because
they're wrong.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I didn't think it betrayed anything in particular. Not I don't know Trek lore the way I know Star Wars lore, but again, I'm very much doing what needs to be done in service of good storytelling. And that's what this was to me. So, yay, nice. That was fun.
That's
of course, the other major thing we've been watching, and I hope you guys have been watching too, is motherfucking Peacemaker.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah.
I actually felt sad when we had caught up because we had been watching one Peacemaker and one Picard every night, and then the first night where I didn't get that intro, I was sad. I almost just booted it up to watch the intro again.
Yes.
I will never forget our reaction to the first time we saw the intro. We watched it silently and then looked at each other and went, what the fuck was that?
And then watched it again. Yes.
Damn right you did.
Yes.
Oh, what a show, huh?
Yeah.
That is just a hoot. And I liked the Suicide Squad. I liked it. I didn't absolutely love it, but I liked it. It was a solid movie. It was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
This I love. I just love this.
Oh, we are
just fantastic.
We are not caught up.
How many episodes behind are we?
I'm gonna. I think we have only seen 4 episodes.
God damn it! Okay.
I think there's only 5.
Yeah, I think
6.
you're 1, maybe 2 behind.
Okay.
You're not that far off.
Okay. Got upset. So yeah, okay.
But some shit happens in those episodes, man.
They are full episodes, and that's absolutely. When he is fucking that girl from behind, yelling freedom, I went, "Good goddamn! This is a show. This is what this show is exactly supposed to be."
I saw John Cena's butt. I did not like it.
He was lip syncing with a vibrator. Like it was.
Like you were 100% right, Angie. That dude is veiny as shit.
I know. Sorry, that was way too loud. I think I just broke this out. Yeah, seriously, so many thoughts I shouldn't have to have about John Cena, but also thank you, John Cena. You're beautiful.
Right. Absolutely wonderful.
Question for you. I'm pretty sure it was the 2nd episode where he's leaving that girl's apartment via the back, jumping from balcony to balcony.
The balconies.
Did you guys have the
balcony to
visceral
balcony
reaction every time he hit the floor as well? Like, oh
Yes.
my gosh.
It's fucking arm injury every time.
Yes, they're doing something special on that show. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely something special.
I think it's giving James Gunn a shit ton of money and free reign.
It seems that way.
I think that's what they're doing on that show.
Yeah.
That's the secret sauce on that one?
100%. That's the secret sauce. Let James Gunn all over the place.
Apparently it's working.
Oh,
I'm totally into it.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's such a weird fucking show, but it's also great.
Yeah.
What's the other?
It's not holding back on any of that DC Comics weirdness.
No.
It's like, nope. This is the side of DC that's not the dark and brooding trap that everything else DC has fallen into since Batman became insanely popular. Right? Look how much fun you can have with DC properties.
Yes.
Look how much fun you can have.
Just the arguments that they get into, like the side conversations that happen.
No, those conversations they're just too long. Like neither character who is arguing knows when to stop, so it just keeps going and going and getting more and more ridiculous, and they're fucking entertaining every time.
Yeah.
What was he? So when he was arguing, how could that? Okay, if it walks like a duck,
it
could be a duck wearing a human, or a human wearing a human suit, or the proportions are not even right. Like that was said.
He took serious issue with that, and I loved it.
Yes, that is it.
Yeah. I'm finding all the like relationships between all the characters very interesting as well, and they're doing like unexpected. To me, they're unexpected things. Maybe if you're familiar with the comics, you are like, oh yeah, they're doing this storyline now.
Honestly,
but
I don't think anybody is familiar with the Peacemaker storyline. Like this is the deepest of deep cuts.
Yeah, this is not a well-trodden character as far as I know.
So, like, the story is going places I didn't necessarily expect, which I like.
That's cool. I'm excited because we've been enjoying it and we're not caught up, and now I want to watch the next episode. But we've been watching. We'll get to it. There's a reason we haven't.
Did you know that that's a real song?
What?
Like, they didn't write that song for the show? The theme song? It's a real, like, glam metal song?
No, I did not.
And not an old one either. It's like, what did I say that was from? Like,
I don't know.
I looked it up, and it's some, like, European hair metal tribute band from, like, maybe 10 years ago, tops.
And they were in the Eurovision Song Contest or something?
Something like
Shut
that.
The
Like,
fuck
that is not something that was made for the show.
That is awesome.
Oh my God.
just makes it even more magical, you
This
know?
show is a national treasure. I'm saying it.
So another like Easter egg about the intro song is the woman who did the choreography for it did all of the choreography while everybody was separated. Like they did it during quarantine. So her and her husband worked it all out because she had to have her husband do the very awkward motions that are not very fluid. As you can see, none of those people that are on stage are dancers.
Man, what kind of husband would do that?
Fucking Alan Tudyk. There is a fucking photograph of Alan Tudyk doing that dance with the arms, you know, akimbo kind of thing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It just makes so much sense. Good show.
Everything. I love it. Oh my God. Television.
Oh my gosh. So the band, which is called Wigwam.
Of course it is.
Oh, fantastic.
They were dropped from their agency days before the premiere of the show.
Well, their
Really?
agency is
Of Peacemakers.
fucking stupid.
Now they're dumb. Now they're regretting it.
Yep. Yeah. They are formed in 2001. And they've released 5 albums. Their latest is titled Never Say Die.
Nice.
That's fantastic.
I wonder if they've read Murder Falcon, because that was right up the Murder Falcon vein of awesomeness.
It was. I would agree with that one. Yes.
3 days before Peacemaker premiere, our booking agency dropped us from their roster because there was too little interest in the band. I told them maybe they should wait a couple of days, but they didn't. That was the lead singer.
Oh, that's fucking magic right there. Oh, that is gorgeous.
Oh.
I want that framed on my wall.
Yes.
Speaking of Alan Tudyk, though,
Yes.
we regretfully have only seen the first episode of season 2 of Resident Alien. I think
that's
there's
okay.
at least one
Fine.
more out, right?
We've only watched the first one as well, purposefully, because there's only 2 available, and we don't want it to end.
Yeah, I got
yeah,
really
I
upset.
wouldn't mind letting that one have a little bit more time
Would you stop?
so that we could roll through it and kind of like an episode a night kind of a thing. It's kind of like my middle ground for certain. Like, it's like that's not one of those shows where I know a lot of people that are going to be speculating on what's happening next online. Like, I'm not going to get spoiled on that show or anything. So
I'm just concerned
I'm fine
because
waiting on
we
that
have
one.
4 perfectly, well, I guess 2 perfectly wonderful households, 4 perfectly wonderful people who want to watch that show. And by not watching it, we're not helping its ratings. And that's the only thing I'm like, I just...
Well, none of us talk to the Nielsen's, so it'll be fine.
Fuck those guys.
Fuck them guys. So, all right. So you're
Fuck them kids.
the intro of him coming back to Earth was fantastic because he was it's not Jack McCoy.
It was Lenny Briscoe.
Lenny Briscoe.
Briscoe.
I was like, Chris knows.
Yeah. So, like,
How happy were you, Chris?
Yeah, I was pretty happy. You know what? I was especially happy that it didn't last more than an episode.
Yeah.
Oh.
I thought for a minute, like, oh no, they're gonna do this for like 5 episodes, and I'm gonna hate it. Please don't do that. Oh, you didn't do that. Right. This show is smart. And then, and I don't know if we talked about this on the show at any point, but I don't remember what I was watching. Well, we were watching one of those Dan Casey Nerdist videos that was sponsored by Resident Alien, and he mentioned that it was based on a comic book.
it is.
And I was like, holy shit, this book was coming out when I worked at Joker's Child. I remember this specifically, looking at this book and saying, I should read this. This is an interesting premise. And then I never did. And I feel like I've never connected the dots that this was that same comic book throughout the entire time that I watched season 1.
Yep.
And now the dots have been connected. How does it feel?
Like, I don't remember mentioning it on the show at some, because I know we talked about this show on here plenty of times, but I don't remember talking about the comic book aspect of it and how it was. That was a book I sold to people, and I just didn't even remember it.
I found out about afterwards, so we probably did not discuss it on the show because I didn't find out till I'm maybe halfway through first season, and it was a comic. So
I'll be
Gotcha.
honest, I never
Yeah,
figured it out.
I remember that book coming out. I remember placing it on the shelf and selling it to people, and I just didn't even connect those dots.
nice.
Blacked out too much of my time at the too much of that of my life during that time
Blurred.
period. Just blurred it all out.
Nice.
So yeah, besides those, obviously the other show I've been watching is the Book of Boba Fett, which is an interesting conversation to have.
So let's hold that one, okay? Because we'll wrap around to that for us as well. But is there anything like how's it going with the kids and any communal watching with them?
Any more Avatar? Not that I can.
Oh yeah. Watched more of it tonight. We're starting the 2-part season finale of season 1.
Oh, finally.
They're enjoying it just as much this time as they did the last time. It maybe a little bit more so because they're a little bit older now, and it all seems new to them. They know they like the show. Ellie keeps asking when Toph's showing up.
Yes.
So like they remember things about it, but they don't remember the plot, and they do seem to be genuinely interested in it. So
fantastic.
That's fun.
Good couple of kids.
Karen, is it still going well for you?
Yeah, I am still enjoying it. I don't think I don't know if it's going to become one of those things where I become like, I get it now, and like become part of the cult.
Okay.
But I can definitely appreciate it, and I like it.
Give it time.
If
Karen.
that's gonna happen, I don't think you'll ever be like part of the cult, but I do think you're gonna get it. I mean, you liked Korra enough to get through there, and you were definitely invested in that show to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's ever gonna happen with this show, it's gonna be later, because season 1 is what it is. Season 1 is the most kids show of the entire show. That really interesting stuff doesn't happen until seasons 2 and 3.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
that's good to know.
Yes.
But it's like I said, I'm not enjoying it. It's fine. It's good. It's nice to have something that we can enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not just sitting
to be
there
watching with the kids.
eyes on it. You're actually watching it.
We're not watching a Hot Wheels movie.
Oh my god. No. Well, what I was gonna say is, so now that John goes to bed a little later than his little sister, we'll take turns who spends that extra time with him, and he's like into this. I shouldn't really complain about it because I'm pretty sure it's something that Kris likes.
Oh my god, he's really glommed onto this, hasn't he?
He's really into this like video game history, like secrets and tricks videos that are on YouTube, and like so that's what he wants to do with his extra time that he gets to stay awake for. And I'm like, oh my god, more of this stuff in my life. Like I never will escape it.
I showed this to him a couple of days ago. I showed this to him like he was watching some like really asinine thing on YouTube, but then he found something else that was like, here's a bunch of glitches, and he thinks video game glitches are really neat. And I was like, I wonder if you'd like this old show. This is a show from at least 10 years ago. I don't remember when it started airing, but this is on a now defunct YouTube channel, GameTrailers.com. So this was where I was getting the game trailers from for our GameStop Game Crazy videos DVDs, that I would make. Yeah, like so that's how old this shit is. But it's Mythbusters for video games. That's exactly what it is. It is
cool.
100% a riff on Mythbusters of like taking old video game rumors and seeing if they're true. And so I showed it to him, and he was like, I figured he might like it at best. And he's so freaking into it. It's weird. And like, I'm fine with it, but he's like, I want to watch this one again. I'm like, but why? You know the answer.
You now know whether or not it's true.
Like, I don't watch this repeatedly, and this is my shit, man. Like, I've seen them a couple of times, but I'll watch them again, like, in a couple of years when I forget the details of things. Like, he just wants to keep rolling through it.
Maybe.
I want to show Mommy the Sonic 2 one again. Like, why, though? It wasn't that interesting. And that's coming from me.
Kid brains, man. They like repetition.
Yeah. They do. They really do.
Sure do.
We were going to watch something on we had time for a short or something on Disney Plus after we finished watching Avatar tonight. And we went over to Disney Plus, and they were like, I want to watch 22 versus Earth again. Like, for the 850th time, the same short. Like, there's so much great content on here that you haven't seen. Things that you would love. No, this, again. Fine. Go for it. Have at it. Live the dream. I'll be on my phone.
Parenting.
Nice.
Yep, that sounds about right. I remember that with my siblings from many, many years ago. But I kind of liked it because we only had so much, like, we didn't have a lot of options for media at that time. So, you know, they'd be watching the same stuff over and over again, but it was like Wizard of Oz and Disney flicks. So I was on board with that. And then it was kind of like this kind of like little bit of an excuse to be able to be like, oh yeah, my brother and sister watch that all the time. I'm totally not into it while my eyes are glued to the television.
When I managed one of the Hollywood Video in Booton, as a matter of fact, we were only allowed to watch G-rated movies, and a employee of mine put on Nightmare Before Christmas every day, and that grew my hatred for that movie. So repetition does not always work with cartoons.
Well, again,
So
like young, you have to remember it's younger brains that like the repetition. But alas, right. I digress.
So, you guys got anything else?
I watched some stuff.
Okay.
Work has been picking back up, which gives me my opportunity to watch a little more Doctor Who. I have gotten through the Smith era. I don't hate Clara yet.
You're not that
we haven't gotten to like the canonization as a saint of her yet. I rewatched for the first time the Day of the Doctor, which is the 50th anniversary special. Shit holds up, man. I don't remember whether or not people liked that at the time. But it's like almost 10 years old now, which is bananas to me. And it's great. It makes all the sense. All the dots connect. Tennant and Smith and John Hurt are fantastic together, and it's great and excellent. And it is definitely worth a rewatch because it's kind of an event thing that exists outside of any, like season-long plot arcs or anything.
Right.
It's its own thing. So I can see how it might get missed on a rewatch. So I think it's definitely worth putting back in there. Oh, excuse me. And I'm only like no, I'm not all right. We're only like 2 episodes into Capaldi, and I just have to. The man does not get enough credit for how funny he is and how fast he is. Because by the time, like, he's said like 4 things by the time you realize that the first thing he said was funny and the second thing he said was funny, and then there was a third thing, and then like, oh, the fourth thing was funny and, important too. Like, he's amazing.
Nice.
He gets a lot of like credit for, the gravitas that he brought to the role after everybody was sick of Matt Smith being a clown, which I wasn't, but whatever. But God, he's funny. He's just fantastic. I'm really gonna enjoy this I don't know that I've ever rewatched the Capaldi era. Maybe I have. I think maybe I did before Jodie started. But he is all around a delight. I am caught up on Discovery of Witches. Angela,
I haven't watched at all. I'm still waiting for this friend. I know. I've been waiting for my friend to be available, but then my schedule has not worked. It's been really hectic. Yeah, I actually I went so far as trying to get her to secretly sneak an episode in while she was working, because I'm now that person. And I was like, I'm gonna watch this shit without you, girl. So we're working on it. If I don't make progress soon with her, I will just start watching it on my own and be like, what? No, I didn't see this at all. So
there's not much television that we are watching independently. Like, I've got one show, I think I've one, everything else we're watching together. So you're not lounging about with time to watch it.
Yeah, so. It's not like what is time really?
There's 2 episodes left in the season, and I think, is this the final season?
Oh, I hope so. I don't know.
I keep seeing ads that's like discovery of which is the final chapter or whatever. So I think that that's the case. But then I won't say much. But it's good. I'm trying to think what else. There was one other thing I had in my head, but it's gone. So the only other thing I have to mention is I have been, at the request of my mother-in-law, I've been watching The Woman in the House Across the Street from the Girl in the Window.
Yes!
Such a good show.
So this is something you guys have seen all of, I'm guessing?
No, we're close. We haven't seen all of it. I'm obsessed with it.
Okay, I've only seen 3.
Okay.
So we are at the same spot then. We've only watched 3.
I've been trying to forcibly get Evan to play more of it because I've literally, like, I can't. I'm literally obsessed.
So I didn't get it at first. I think on the first episode I was like, okay, this is like one of those, like, you know, lady witnesses a murder kind of thing shows, and it was kind of getting me down because like the setup, the premise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a rough premise.
It's a rough premise, but also like there's glimmers of her, like, you know, like rekindling her life, getting her life back together, and, you know, finding some romance with this cute dude that crossed the street. And I was like, okay, I know this isn't where that's not where this is going, and that bums me out because, like, that's the kind of thing I like to watch.
Yes.
Like, you know, person who has had a hard life, you know, gets that has a happy ending and turns things around for themselves. I'm like, I would like to see Kristen Bell do that. I would watch the hell out of that, and I know that's not what this is, so I'm kind of bummed about it. And then the reason I watched more was my mother-in-law, kind of at her request, because she watched the whole thing, and she seemed like, I haven't really talked too much to her about it because I don't want to, like, know what's going to happen, but she seemed like she said that she was disappointed in the ending, or it seemed like she didn't really understand the ending, maybe. I don't know what the ending is.
I could definitely believe that it's confusing, because the show's confusing.
Well, now that I've seen more of it, and I think I understand more what the show is, which is more of like a satire of this genre, which is very subtle because it's not laugh out loud funny.
No.
That is, I can confirm that is exactly what my mom wants to talk to you about, because she didn't get that it was satire until the end.
That's what I was thinking, because
she called me and said, have you watched this show? I feel like an idiot because I've been taking this seriously the whole time, and then it ended. It's like, I haven't seen any of it. I know Karen watched some of it, so you'll have to talk to her.
Yeah.
But my mom felt she just felt so bad.
Because the same thing. Your dad did the same thing with Norseman, where he didn't get that it was a comedy.
Right, because my dad's a lunatic.
So I'm like, I feel bad if that's what she thought, like, if she thinks it's serious and it's not. Because the more you watch of it, the more, like, you know, every tragic character in one of these stories has, like, an affliction, and hers is she's afraid of the rain, and, like, she's got this handyman that's working outside of her house, and he's always just fixing the mailbox, but he's always there. He's just fixing the mailbox.
Yes.
I kind of assumed it was based on the title.
But yes. Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing. It's so subtle about it that, and it's like, if you think about it, these things about the show are completely ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But if you don't think too hard about it, it's done in such a way that you could think that it's just being completely straight.
Yeah,
clearly you can.
If you let it go and don't really think too much about it or think too deeply about it, it is a really interesting retelling of Rear Window kind of thing, where someone sees something that they're not supposed to see and all hell breaks loose. But as this hell is breaking loose, you're going, what? Why did that just happen? Or that person is horrible, but it's engaging as all hell. And I think it's just because it's her, and you want to connect with that character for most of the things that she's going through. And it's just,
I'm going to be honest. I did not fully pick up. Like, there was a lot of comedic stuff stuff that's happened, but there's so much suspense when I'm watching it that, like, I feel riveted when I watch the show, but I don't think until you said that it really clicked. Like, I haven't been taking the show that seriously. I've just been, like, really, I don't know, hon, what's the word? Because, like,
you've been enjoying it?
I've really been enjoying it.
That's
but like last night you went to turn it off and I was like, what the fucking fuck? And you were like, we gotta go to bed. Like,
late. Gotta get up early.
Yeah.
But like it just takes it one degree over the line to like ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that like she's an alcoholic. Okay, that's something you'd expect out of that story.
So much wine.
But she the wine, she fills it all the way comedically to the very rim of the glass every time.
I'm okay with the quantity of bottles that she goes through. It's the fact that she fits the entirety of the bottle in one glass that bothers me, because she has to leave it on the table and go without touching it. Because she's like going to spill it.
I did enjoy though the fact that she had one of the confrontations she had with the bitchy neighbor.
Yes.
Who is like completely perfect and then like always talking about her husband and his clients and they're very important and his job is important. So she gets in a fight with this woman in her driveway and ends up saying, "Go fuck yourself, Carol."
Yeah.
Like,
I thought you were going to go with the "I'm not even going to pray for you anymore."
Yeah.
Carol. That's just not
even
right.
gonna pray for you anymore. I think maybe if I was watching it with other people, I might be laughing more.
Possibly.
Like you're watching it alone, you're just sort of like, huh.
I feel like as we are watching it, I want there to be more things that are like what's the deal with the handyman? There's something there. I know that there's something there.
Because Evan's like, he can't be there that all the time like that. Why the fuck is he always there?
And the headstone. Like, did you notice the headstone? Why is the headstone a thing? Like,
did you notice that the headstone changes when she goes there?
No.
So
the epitaph changes.
Yeah, the text on it changes.
Oh.
So
that's funny.
There's
that raccoon that must have fallen off your roof, but where's the body?
You'd think there'd be a body. What?
Do you think you could fix it? Oh yeah.
What? Okay, so the
fact
handyman,
that he had lockpicking equipment in his toolbox.
And then she's like, I can't believe that worked. Like,
if you start to break it down, it's like, of course this is ridiculous. Of course this is satire. But if you just like watch it and you're not paying full attention, you're like, oh, this is one of those things.
Well, it could be either satire or
I think I was just looking at it as dark humor.
I keep saying that I feel like this is a fever dream. Like she is locked in a padded room somewhere and none of this is happening, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it could very well be that other side of that coin. But
also, she's an unreliable narrator because, like, they flat out say, like, oh, she's drinking wine and she shouldn't be mixing them with pills, and the pills cause hallucinations, and she's reading a book about a guy who murdered his wife, and so all of these things is like, okay, well, some of this could eventually play into how this story is being told.
Yeah.
But you just don't know. But I am enjoying it. I will keep going with it. I just kind of like, what the fuck is this show? I don't know, but I'm here for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're all on board. Cool. Anything else?
That's about it for me. No.
Right. Cool. I'm going to just say the one thing that I've been watching, because it's only the one thing. I've been watching Outcast, which I started watching eons ago. It's based on a comic about a guy who is sort of like an
outcast,
human exorciser. Like he has the ability to repel demons because his mom was possessed by a demon and whatnot. It's really dark, really fucking creepy, violent. It's based on a comic book. I'm a couple of episodes in, but I started watching this when it first came out, and it's now halfway or at least halfway through season 2, and it's very true to its source material. So I'm liking that quite a bit. Outside of that, my normal ghost hunters and shit like that at night, but everything else has been the two of us, hun. I mean, you had your Walker run.
Yep, that was the only thing I was going to talk about, so now I'm done. Move on.
Come on, you could talk a little bit about Walker, the non-Texas Ranger.
I mean, how's our Jarpad doing?
He's acting.
I love watching my wife hate watch shows. It brings me joy, especially when she hate watches something that she like. It's got Jared
I want to like it.
She wants to like it so badly.
Why you do this to me, Jared? Why you got to do me dirty like that? Yeah, it's oh god, it's a show. It's definitely a show.
It's
I don't know.
It's melodramatic. It's CW.
Like it's a fucking CW show, guys, and I don't know why I keep going back to these shows thinking I'm not going to be disappointed.
That show sounds exactly like what's written on the tin. It's Walker Texas Ranger by way of the C-fucking-W.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't be on the C. Okay, I will allow it to be on the CW, just not about Walker Texas Ranger. Because that was the baddest of badasses.
Yeah, they're trying to do all this stuff. And, like, the one thing I'll say that I've liked while watching this show, because I can't just completely crap all over it and continue to watch it as I have. Or I guess I can, but I'm going to try not to. I know that they're trying to actually show character growth in the Walker character, like, episode by episode even. They're not even... Like, you can literally... Oh god, what am I, like 5 or 6 episodes in, and you can already see how the character's evolving and trying not to let
8.
his past trauma. Oh my god, is it 8?
You're like 8 episodes in, honey.
Fuck me. Whatever. The point is, I'm watching this goddamn show, and I'm gonna keep going because Jensen Ackles directed a show episode. I don't know which one, and I feel like I'm gonna at least get through the entirety of the first season because that's the kind of fan that I am, and damn it to hell, I regret everything. So that's it. That's what I've been watching. Also, I should mention that the girl who's playing the partner to Walker Texas Ranger, because he has a partner now. I don't know if he did in the original, but I don't remember it.
What's that, Chris?
Please tell me her name is Jogger.
No,
it's not.
I can't.
Prancer, Dancer, Sitter.
It's Leaps and Bounds, actually.
My name is Jennifer Leaps.
I carry a badge. Anyway, so she's from, or I know her from the 100, from watching that show, and she was one of my favorite characters on that show. So it's very fun to see her.
It's really weird how the characters or the actors independently were on shows that you really liked.
Yeah.
But when they got together to make this, not doing it for you.
Well, but I've explained that to you that, like, she's my favorite part of the show right now. I'm more interested in her than anything else. Also, Walker's kids are stupid, so that's a thing.
What show is it? Oh, someone asked me what I felt about Lois and Superman and Lois, that new show, and I'm like, yeah. I can't watch the show. I can't bear the fact that Superman is a horrible father and his children are assholes. I can't do that. That's like, no. So I understand that wanting the family dynamic to be good.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's not.
It's okay.
I don't think it's entirely their fault that it's not good. I think it's partially the writing. God, I hope Jared's not writing this.
CW writing.
Yeah, I think it's a CW show, and I chose to walk away from CW shows a long time ago because they just continue to disappoint me, and I gave this one a shot because Jared was on it, and that was it. And it's doing exactly what all other CW shows do. It's infuriating me and making me not want to watch it.
Makes sense.
Oh,
a lot
Sounds
of that,
fun.
No non-communication. Communication.
No, like that's the thing. They're even doing stuff where they're working on how characters communicate, but then like there's just moments where I'm like, oh, that scene was pretty well acted, and then it gets to another scene and I'm like, wow, that scene never should have happened ever in anything. Can we burn that? Like, why is this here? I can't. Please leave. You're an intruder on my television. So many feelings. Can we move on now? Yes,
on the other side, every day during dinner, we watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine for some joy and happiness, because that show is fantastic. We are a Brooklyn Nine-Nine household.
For life.
And we have been watching The Legend of Ox Machina.
Yeah, we have.
Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. I was not. I got this for Angela because it is a animated version of a D&D campaign from... What's it from, hon?
I'm like, you want me to explain this?
Yeah, go.
Okay, so they took the Critical Role podcast and they took the Vox Machina campaign and they actually decided to turn it into a cartoon. It looks to me like it is the early parts of the Vox Machina campaign. So when I started actually listening to it, this was much later in their story. And I don't know if they had actually been making their podcast episodes before this point. So I think this is sort of like content that podcast listeners may not have actually had access to previously, or I just didn't, so I'm all that matters. But it was a really it's really cool because you get to see all of the characters, and the players from this campaign are doing the voice acting because all of them are voice actors in real life. So
the actors from the podcast are actually voice acting the characters in which they played in the campaign.
Yep.
And it is fantastic. It is so much fun. It's super engaging. I'm not a big D&D. Actually, I don't like D&D because I can't get out of my own brain like you're supposed to.
He's not a role player, if you will.
And I can actually enjoy this fully because it's not listening to, like, I can't listen to them talk about their D&D campaign, but I can sure shit watch this cartoon because it is fucking entertaining and a lot of fun.
And it's like invincible levels of violence. Like this show's like really, like, even for a cartoon, there's been a couple times where I've straight cringed.
Yeah.
It's definitely adult content, not for children at all whatsoever.
Nope.
But it's great content.
A lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Cool, man.
What else is that? I think that's it, right? Got a couple more episodes of The Proof is Out there. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's all I really got.
I mean, I watched a couple episodes of The Goldbergs, but that's sort of lost its flair for me. All right, so let's just get it out there, Chris. Boba Fett has gone horribly wrong, and the best two episodes were the last two that didn't feature Boba Fett. So, okay, I'm done. So if you stay tuned for the commercials.
How do you feel, Chris?
Well, I'll preface it by saying that I'm trying to work on something with myself where I try not to, I'm trying to be a little bit less combative about the way I say things. The internet is a horrible place. And a lot of that comes from the kind of thing that you just said, which what you are saying is my favorite two episodes, the ones that I liked the best, were these two episodes. But instead of saying that, you say, these are the best two episodes, implying that the other episodes are not as good as that one. And, by saying that, you're implying that something that somebody else likes is not good. Or like saying the only two good episodes of this show are these two. And not everybody necessarily feels that way. You could say the only two that I enjoyed are these two. And now all of a sudden, you're not starting an argument. Which is not the way the internet works. I'm just using yours as an I'm just using what you said as an example. I'm not actually saying that shame on you for doing that, because I do that shit too. And I know that you're playing too. But that is something that I want to try and work on for myself.
Okay.
Just because it's so big of a part of why these toxic arguments happen so often. Mm-hmm. Because there's such a big difference between I don't like this and this is bad. Mm-hmm. And I completely understand why people don't like the Book of Boba Fett. Like, I get it completely. I love it. I am loving all of the parts of the show. I don't love how it's being put together. I have some pretty serious issues with the way this show is playing out. But I guess that's kind of more later in the conversation. Not that I want to spend a whole lot of time on this.
Right. And I understand. And I did make a Facebook comment to the effect of, it's a shame that the best 2 episodes of the show were the last 2 that didn't feature Boba Fett.
Evan is inflammatory.
I am that troll. I will openly admit to that. But taking a step back after the conversation that we had last night, I feel this is yet again falling into the vein for me that The Witcher season 1 fell into. That the storytelling may be very, very good, but it is very, very choppy. Which,
like, the storytelling's good, but the editing isn't.
Well,
I think it's worse than that. I think it's a deeper problem. Like, I think that the individual parts of it are good, but the storytelling itself is bad. Like, we had talked a little bit last night about how the perception is that Boba Fett's all weak right now. Mm-hmm. And I felt the same way after watching, was it in that first episode, when they got jumped right after going to the mares. They got jumped by those guys with the shields.
Right.
And, like, I felt like, wow, that's weird. What I got out of that scene was this feeling like, as soon as they got surrounded, I was like, these guys are in fucking trouble. Like, this is going to be a bloodbath. And then it wasn't. And what the show wanted us to take away from that, I can only assume, is, oh shit, these assassin guys are no joke. But that's not how it came off. Like, I've since rewatched that scene, and the stuff that I was telling you last night, like, during that scene, dude, like, he caught that freaking axe in his hand, stood up with it zapping him, yanked it out of his hand, murdered that guy with it. Then after he got stabbed by like 6 of those other things, he fucking rocket launched one of the guys that was going to take away and just get away and disintegrate him. He was 100% that character that he had been, but there was something about the way that it came together of, like, there was no buildup of saying, like, oh no, these are some serious assassins that are specifically out to get you. Like, they surrounded him and Fennec, and they tried a couple of things. Anyone who is going to crowd up on Boba Fett and Fennec Shand, that's not going to go well for them. But that's I think the takeaway was supposed to be, wow, these guys are much more dangerous than I thought. Not, wow, Boba Fett's kind of weak right now, because that's not what it is. I don't
want you to think. Okay, so, and it's weird because I don't think he's weak. Like, and you said that last night, and it didn't compute till earlier today for me, because I was, rethinking about the conversation that I know that we were going to have this evening. I don't think he's weak. I just don't feel, for me, the necessity to see the softer side of Boba, and they're doing a lot of that. They're doing mostly that for this show, and my original statement was, he should be the baddest assed character in this show because of how I grew up seeing him. Like, that was my mindset. And you made the comment about, like, there's character growth and whatnot, and okay, but, like, he has never been portrayed as a softer fella, and he is mainly being portrayed as a softer fella in this. Not weak, not strong, just really kind to animals, and he's a man of the people, kind of like that. Wasn't the character that I was expecting to see, because when he first showed up in Mandalorian, he literally walked on stage and said, "That motherfucker has my gear. I want it back. Give it to me now." And this
is a perception thing where the show is failing,
right?
Because you're saying that's what this feels like, that we're seeing the softer side of Boba Fett. He's not trying to be a good guy. He's trying to run a fucking crime syndicate, and he wants to do it better than Jabba because he's sick of working for people that are idiots. He's like, he said in an episode, "I'm tired of working for all these idiots. I'm going to do this shit better." And he's not out to be a good guy. He's out to be a fucking crime lord. He's looking at it like, how can I get the most profit out of this? Not from scaring people, but from demanding their respect. And he's not doing a great job of it.
Though? Like, is that was his motivation for doing that? Was just, I don't want to work for other people, so I'm just going to work for myself?
Yeah, that's what he said in an episode talking to Fennec.
Yeah, when he was talking to
those
her,
were literally his words.
I know. I just didn't understand why he took Jabba's territory. Like, I didn't know if this was supposed to tie into his backstory that they were giving us, or if there was like a reason why this.
So, and there's a hugely valid point right there. It spent 2 episodes. The show spent 2 episodes talking about a completely different character from a completely different show, when there are still so many things left up in the air about the titular character.
Well, that'll come.
We have 1 episode left.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I do. Yes, that's gonna come. They're gonna do that. I'm not afraid that they're never going to get to that stuff. But this is a trap that Filoni has fallen into before. There are entire story arcs in the Clone Wars that have nothing to do with any of the main characters. There was like a 5-episode arc that was about a bunch of random-ass droids that never met anyone before or after those episodes. Like, this is a thing that Filoni has fallen into before, and I didn't piece that together till earlier today. I was thinking about it like, yeah, no, this has happened before, and this is not...
Interesting.
I really enjoyed those 2 episodes, but they were definitely not my favorite episodes of this series so far. And in fact, the thing with the Rancor, I know, was kind of bothering you, that he is an animal lover, as it were. That was probably my favorite episode so far, and it's because of the way that I'm looking at this as a Star Wars superfan and thinking about who Boba Fett actually is. Like, that whole bit with the Rancor was like, he connected to the Rancor because that's him. You know, he is one of 2 unaltered clones of Jango Fett. And Jango Fett wanted him so that he could continue his legacy. He immediately, like by the age of 6, starts training Boba Fett to be his replacement as the baddest bounty hunter. Like, that's his purpose. He was bred to fight. Just like all the clones, just like Boba Fett, just like the Rancor. And a whole thing that Boba Fett's trying to do was lead through respect instead of fear. What was the Rancor's purpose in the first place? Jabba kept it in a cage to scare people. And then Danny Trejo shows up and says, well, yeah, they're really good at fighting. That's what most people use them for, but there's more to them than that. It was a direct analog for Boba Fett's character. I shouldn't have to explain that to you, though. The show should have done that.
Oh my God, I feel so stupid right now because I definitely did not get that at all.
And that's the thing.
But that's not your fault.
It's not your fault. The show's doing a terrible job of explaining any of that shit. It's doing a piss. This shit, these last 2 episodes that were fucking awesome. The vast improvement on CG Luke. It's still creepy, but it's so much less creepy than it used to be. Like him and Grogu and Mando and Ahsoka, like, this shit's great, but it's not. What the fuck? This is not the right show. What are you doing? Why are we spending all this time with Grogu? This should be something else that is fleshed out on its own. And while I'm thrilled to death to see this shit happening, and I understand that they put it there because it probably has something to do with the finale of the Book of Boba Fett, that just means they should have structured the releases of these things differently. The fact that they had to take 2 episodes, what do we have, 7 total? 2 whole episodes without Boba Fett? What are you doing? And like Cad Bane just shows up at the end of this last episode. There's a fucking history there. Like, Cad Bane's the one who taught Boba Fett to be a bounty hunter. You want to go crazy with some
Cad Bane's
history?
The blue guy, right?
What's that?
Cad Bane's the blue guy?
Yeah, he was the blue guy that showed up at the end, who was voiced by the same guy who voiced him in the cartoon, which I think is pretty great. But yeah, he's a pretty big deal. He has a history with Boba Fett, and there was an unreleased episode of Clone Wars where the ding in Boba Fett's helmet came from Cad Bane, where they kind of tried to match each other. But like, that's the thing. Boba Fett has spent his whole life being what he was told he was supposed to be, trying to live up to his father's legacy, and that's his dad's armor, for fuck's sake, that he's still wearing. And there's this whole like weird meta level to it that if you're really paying attention to it, you can dig up with like, oh, so there's something wrong with him. Like the whole thing with the Bacta tank, we still don't know why he was there.
Correct.
Right? Mm-hmm. He was kicking all the ass in Mandalorian, right? He kicked all the ass and he was fine. Like, dude was okay. And he was okay in the flashbacks. He was fine when he was with the Tuskens. Dude was kicking all kinds of ass when he was with the Tuskens. Like, after he got over being dehydrated.
Scarred.
That's what I was noticing, was that the scarring has gone away. Maybe that's what the tank was for? Because she mentioned it.
But yeah, the scarring's gone away, but they had to drag him to the tank. Like, I went back and looked, as like, am I remembering this right? No, they had to like, something would go wrong and they'd be like, get me back to the tank. And they would have to drag him and put him in there to heal. Like, something is wrong inside of him. And
we don't know.
I don't know what it is, and they haven't said what it is. And I guess everything.
This show should be telling us these things.
This show should be, exactly. Everything we're complaining about could be completely undone tomorrow, right? There's the season finale. They got a lot of ground to cover. I want to know if Cobb Vanth is still alive, because if they killed Space Raylan Givens, I'm going to be pretty pissed off about it.
I'm flipping this fucking table.
I want to see Cad Bane fight. Cad Bane squared off against Jedi. Cad Bane almost killed Ahsoka. Like, I want to see all this stuff happen. And I was really expecting it to be a 2-part big old battle against the Pikes, but now we've got a 1-part battle against the Pikes. And like, yes, I want to see Boba Fett like an action figure fever dream riding a Rancor in battle. That's going to be so fucking cool. But like, this shit is all there, but they're doing it so dirty, and it's just, it feels irresponsible to me. Like, I love all these parts of the show. I thought the flashback stuff was super cool, but boy, interweaving it in and out of the story in modern times made it feel so disjointed. And I think that also had a lot to do with the overall consensus, even if it's not necessarily what you said or thought, but that is a thing that's out there, that why is Boba Fett so weak? And I feel like a lot of it has to do with the fact that we haven't really seen him healed. We haven't seen him fight since he's been healed yet. And the 2 fights that you did see was him getting jumped by these incredibly well-trained ninjas and got ripped out of a fucking Bacta tank and had to fight a murderous Wookiee butt naked.
He had a loincloth on.
He did, but I think given the circumstances,
it was shocking how well that thing was tied. I'm not gonna lie. He got tossed around that fucking room and that thing did not even loosen.
Evan was looking for a sneak peek, if you know what I mean.
He went to the Wolverine school of clothing. Like, remember in X-Men 3 when the Phoenix is literally disintegrating the earth around him, but Wolverine's boxer shorts are just fucking fine.
Yeah. I wish
she loved him enough to preserve his modesty.
I wish I had Chris's knowledge about this. Like, because I can understand why you are being as forgiving as you are because of the background that you have with it. Like, you know something more than I do. And I'm watching this for the sheer excitement of the pretty laser shows that's on the screen. Like, it's I want to have that depth of knowledge for this, because it will. You
feel like it would enrich your experience.
It would be more enjoyable as opposed to me going, all right, well, we just spent 2 episodes watching him build a ship and bring chainmail, it was adorable chainmail. Don't get me wrong, it was fucking cute, to a little baby toy machine. And at that point, I wanted to punch CGI Luke Skywalker because he was being a dick. Like,
But that shouldn't. But here's the real kicker. Here's the thing that makes me even more angry about the show, which I do love, and I'm really enjoying every episode of because I'm me. And like I said, I like all the pieces. I just don't like how they're fitting together. But how much better would all of this be? All of it, if this was the show that the trailer said we were going to get, which was Boba Fett and Fennec Shand trying to run the criminal underworld of Tatooine.
Yes.
And just that.
That's it.
All this other stuff I'm finding fascinating. I think all this character development for Boba Fett is pretty neat, and I wish that they were doing a better job of making it so that it didn't seem like it was... you didn't need a freaking degree in Star Warsology to figure out this kind of shit. Like, you can be a little bit more heavy-handed than this, guys. It's okay.
We can aim for the face, not necessarily on the nose, but on the face.
Yeah, just get it in the general vicinity of where people might actually understand what you're trying to do, like, without being me. Like, that's completely insane. But more than that, I would really like the show that they showed in the trailer. I would really like to not have it be as... Maybe sprinkle some of that stuff in, but make it the show about Fennec and Boba Fett being badasses and trying to figure out how to run a criminal underworld with respect instead of fear. That sounds badass.
Mm-hmm. You build this story for 3 episodes, and then episode 4 is a flashback episode where they explain how Fennec and Boba got together, and you cut out at least half of the flashback shit that they put in.
Give us the train sequence, cut out the rest of it,
Boba finding Fennec and bringing her back to whatever.
Exactly.
And that's it. That's all we need.
The Tashi Station thing, that was great. That could have been done in like what? An episode?
A scene?
2 episodes, maybe? Yeah. Like, that whole flashback of him with the Tusken Raiders, that was... I understand why they did it, but they didn't need to. And the time management of this show is pitiful.
Bad clock management.
Bad clock management. Well said.
All right, so...
I don't know Star Wars as well as I know sports.
I love the Book of Boba Fett. It is a flawed experience, to say the least. I cannot fucking wait. Tomorrow is going to be insane. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself tomorrow.
You're going to poop your pants.
I'm going to poop your pants.
Please don't.
Come here. Give me your pants. I'm going to poop them.
Because I don't know if you guys know this, but besides the Boba Fett finale, there's also a fucking Nintendo Direct tomorrow.
Oh, shit.
Gonna be out of my goddamn mind.
We got to check on Kris later tomorrow. All right, honey.
Later tomorrow,
Yeah,
you got it.
Like in the well, I don't know when's the direct supposed to be, sir.
You know
it's
what?
At 5:00.
Guys, just check on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'll just be vibrating somewhere. It'll be great.
So apparently, when Karen watches some sporting events, she gets very loud and very animated. I just imagine that same situation for Kris when watching a Nintendo Direct, but like Karen's upstairs in the kitchen and she hears him downstairs going, "What the fuck?" Like, I want that to be the situation for Kris.
Please make a TikTok.
It has
happened.
It has happened. It's pretty rare for me to get audible like that. And that happened this year with the fucking Metroid Dread thing at E3. She could hear me from upstairs. I was completely blown away, and that was amazing. And that kind of stuff almost never happens, and I'm really excited about this one because I'm excited about nothing. I am pretty sure that they're not. I'm so just feel right now in my bones, nothing's going to happen tomorrow that's going to knock my socks off. I feel like it's going to be a bunch of shit that I do not care about at all. And that's mildly exciting because there's a pretty good chance I'm wrong, because I'm wrong a lot.
Yeah, I heard on the underground that Nintendo is making a deal with Amico. They're going to join forces. Tommy Tallarico stepped down from Amico, and he's now taking over Nintendo. You heard it here first, people.
This is Chris's dream come true.
This is a joke for 9 people.
Oh my god! Before the show started, I put there's an Ars Technica put another article out about there was a bunch of stuff. Oh my god! I'm gonna read another Amico article after this show is over, because man, some shit hit the fan, and it was hilarious and really creepy. But yeah, good times.
All right. I'm calling it. I'm throwing a flag.
Speaking of being way off the rails.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I'll take my medal now for keeping that Boba Fett conversation to under an hour. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that, sir. I appreciate it greatly. And you gave me another viewpoint. Like, I understand how you're seeing it. I appreciate you looking at it from my perspective as well, and saying that you can see how some of the storytelling might be flawed.
I'd like to just chime in and say thank you for speaking in terms of trying to be still respectful of other people's viewpoints.
Yeah. Good job, Kris.
It's refreshing.
We appreciate you. All right, we're going to take
the difference that could make on a large scale. Anyway, go on.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to be talking about Dragnet, Season 1, Episode 1. Listener request, Ferg. It's for you. We're back.
And now, here's a quick look at some of the other original content available now from our partners and Geekade.com.
First up, we all know my co-host Kris here is a nutcase, especially when it comes to video game music. So for this week's all-new episode of Stone Age Countdown, Kris donned his especially nerdy cap, like there is one, and compiled a list of his top 5 favorite Super Mario musical Easter eggs. What secrets are these songs hiding? What references do these tunes possess buried just underneath the surface? Find out in Stone Age Countdown, Top 5 Mario Music Secrets, now available on the Stone Age Gamer YouTube channel.
I'm going to chime in here.
I'm especially proud of this video. Go ahead.
And I'm going to say, I watched this video, and if you want to know the essence that is Kris, he took it and put it into, what, a 5-minute video?
Yeah, it was fairly compact.
Yeah,
I did my best to make it not overly long. I'm super proud of this one. This shit's been rattling around my brain, and I finally had some way to get it out, and it just made me happy.
So what does your nerdy cap look like?
He wasn't wearing a cap.
Tell me what you're wearing, Kris.
Like, it's invisible because it's always
head.
on.
It's just
always
me.
on. Okay. Next, robot bodies. One can only assume that they're an inevitability. But when you get to yours, will a voice in your head tell you to take over the world? That's the question everyone was asking themselves back in the year of our Lord 198X. And you know what? That very thing happened in Transformers Season 2, Episode 1, Episode 17, when Spike must inhabit an Autobot body that was made by his father from discarded or dead pieces of Autobot body parts. If you want to hear more about this perfectly normal scenario, be sure to check out Sparkcast episode 25. Oh, excuse me. Sparkcast episode... Sparkcast episode 53, TV 17, Autobot X, Robot Spike.
My favorite part of that commercial was how you were stumbling through it, and Kris is sitting over here going, "Yep, I wrote what I wrote."
And it's not that I'm stumbling, like I'm trying to read it, but that's how it's written, Kris.
Exactly.
Yep, I wrote what I wrote.
I was borderline saying episode 1, parentheses, episode 17. What? Anywho, enjoy that. Podcast, episode 53.
That's how they wrote it. Like, that's what they called the episode on the site. I don't know what they're talking about, but I'm gonna advertise it because that's what we do here at Geekade.
We are supportive
of our
Geekade family.
Listen, I'm a huge fan of the year 198X, okay? I can't wait.
It's 1098X.
What?
19XDX. I don't know. I know
1980X.
Mega Man takes place in 2000X. So
do you know when I was born? 1980X.
Oh, Christ.
1980X.
Karen, wrap this up.
Anyway. You can never talk about acquisitions too much in the video game world. People seem to love the monopolistic corporate takeover apocalypse, and the Weekend Rental crew recently weighed in with their thoughts on the enormous Activision-Microsoft buyout. But that's not all. They also discussed strategies in the recently acquired Wordle and discussed their top 21 games of all time. Why 21? Find out in Weekend Rental, episode 118, The Gamers Report for Duty.
I'm actually curious about that. The buyout? I'm looking forward to their thoughts.
Then perhaps you should listen to Weekend Rental, episode 118.
Perhaps I shall.
For all this great content and more from our partners, be sure to check out geekade.com.
And we're back. Thank you so much for checking out our commercials. It's time to talk about Dragnet. Okay, but
Dun, dun, dun.
it's funny because when I started that, she's like, "Oh, is that where that came from?"
That's not what I said. It's close though. It's actually pretty close. I didn't know.
Pretty close.
I didn't know.
This was a listener request from our good friend Ferg at Kris. Say the podcast name again.
The Atari 2600 Game by Game podcast with Ferg.
There it is. All of us here are big Ferg fans. We like ourselves some Ferg.
Yes, indeedy.
That we do.
He's a very skilled baker.
He's also just so sweet.
He's a very solid human. Solid human being.
Ferg, we love you.
We love you, Ferg. He suggested that we watch this, and apparently I was unaware of this. On his podcast, he has listeners send in clips or snippets to talk about whatever he's introducing, and Kris had asked him to do that for us. I have a 3-minute clip of our friend Ferg. I'm assuming he's going to be talking about Dragnet. Who knows? It is a surprise. I have not listened to it.
Secret recipe for cookies. We don't know.
We don't know. We're all listening to this together for the first time.
It's Ferg telling us all that I'm his favorite. Thanks. That's all.
Okay, thanks.
Rude.
Bye.
Yeah,
I win. All right, Ferg, take it away.
Hey guys, Ferg here. Another embarrassing Ferg pick for TWEP. This is the third pick that I made, and it follows the Star Trek movie rule that the odd ones are bad and the even ones are good. Hopefully the next one will be better. This does come from when I was a kid. Not a kid, I guess in my 20s. In the 90s, we first started watching this. It was on, maybe it was on Nickelodeon. I don't remember. But I, of course, had heard of it. I watched the Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks movie from the 80s, which I loved. The reason I picked this is because I remember Blue Boy being kind of hilarious. I forgot what happens to him at the end. I think that Dragnet tried to show policing by the book because policing was a little bit maybe out of hand at the time. It's gotten better since then, right? Sure it has. Yeah, this did not age well. Although I do love Harry Morgan. He has all the really good lines in here. Like, I think Blue Boy says something about, can you hear it? And Harry Morgan says, well, we can all hear it, son, or something like that. And his freeze, of course, is really good. But other than that, it's kind of a downer. It is. I always thought that when they said it's based on a true story, I always thought it was a lie. But apparently this one is not. It was based on an actual guy named Paul Foster, I think, who was a cartoonist. And they had Ken Kesey's electric acid test or whatever it was called. And the party they were referring to was an actual party with the Grateful Dead and Ken Kesey's Merry Pranksters and all that kind of acid culture from back then. And they were right about how it was outlawed. I mean, it didn't happen as fast as it did in the show. It had been around for decades, LSD, I mean. And it was outlawed in 1968 in America. And also, they really hit you over the head with the Miranda rights. That was something that had just happened the year before, in 1966. So it's a bit problematic, isn't it? I'm sorry. I hope you enjoyed it for what it was. A kind of a look back at, I guess, the earnestness of 60s TV. Trying to make the cops look good when you watch the news and and they didn't. So I don't know. I apologize. I'll pick a better one next time. But I do hope that you found some good in it, namely Harry Morgan. So thanks, guys, for doing the podcast. It's a highlight whenever it shows up on my feed. I love listening to it. Love listening to you guys talk to each other. And I'm sorry.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, Ferg. Apology not accepted. It was, even though it wasn't great, it was a great experience.
So,
Ferg, I'll watch literally anything you tell me to because of who you are. I really will.
So, Dragnet, this is, I think, the second version, right? At least the second version?
Yeah, I think there was a black and white one in the 50s.
Yeah, 50-something. This is the 1967 version, starring Jack Webb and Harry Morgan as the lead officers, Sergeant Joe Friday and Officer Bill Gannon, respectively. But this was also written and directed by Jack Webb. So, yeah, it is a product of its time. Very dry, like very, very stern. But it was interesting to see how they played off the drug epidemic of the 60s and the early 70s. What did you guys... I know what my wife thought about it, so what did you guys think about it?
Yeah, everybody else doesn't though. I can share.
Oh no, we're gonna go. We're gonna wrap around. We're gonna get there.
One thing that stuck out to me was at one point when he was like talking about what they were arresting somebody for, it was leading an amoral lifestyle. Like leading an amoral life was against the law.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I found this absolutely fascinating. I didn't think it was. Like, it's hard to say that something like this is necessarily bad. It's such, like Ferg said, it was very propaganda-y and like, we got to make the cops look good,
And the propaganda is exactly the word that popped into my head too. Not only because of making the cops look good, but specifically for making the drugs look bad.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, this was very much
marijuana.
aimed at like white parents wanting to like have them show this to their kids and be like, see what these bad drugs do to you kids?
Yes, and now you're dead. It was very, very much like that. But
so just so you know, the subject was book under section 601, in danger of leading an idle, dissolute, and or immoral life. That was the full charge.
Fascinating. Fascinating. The part that I found so fascinating, just personally watching this, was how much of Law and Order's DNA came from this show.
Yeah.
Like,
Same.
I'm watching this like, oh my, like this is the template. This is where this came from. We didn't
You could
learn.
almost hear the echo of Chung Chung.
Right? Like, it didn't do anything about their personal lives. It wasn't about the detectives. They weren't trying to build their characters or their relationships. This was a show about a case. That was the central point of the show, was solving the case.
It's like the granddaddy of all procedurals.
Yeah. And it was super fascinating for me as such a Law and Order fan to watch that. And like, it's and similar the way Law and Order, you look back at episodes of like, I don't hold the propaganda nature of this episode against it any more than I hold the way 1991 episodes of Law and Order portray black people. That was the time, and not like it wasn't necessarily glorified or anything. Like, that's how people treated people. It was, or at least that's how I've come to understand it. I wasn't there, but it felt like this is the way that people viewed the world at this time. Like, this whole propaganda against the life of drugs or anything like that. Like, that was a scare, like, and they were convincing people that this was the devil. Like, this is just like people convincing rock and roll music or video games are the devil, and they're gonna corrupt the youth of America. And like, It was a fascinating watch. Like, it was very dry. I'm not going to go back and like watch more of them or anything like that. But just, with Law and Order being one of my favorite shows and seeing that it was so clearly like where a lot of that show's DNA came from.
Like
was
Law
really
and
cool.
Order in general, but also specifically, Lenny Briscoe is like plucked right out
Oh
of
my
Friday. Like,
Yeah.
100%.
Lenny Briscoe definitely calls back to Friday. And like, and to an extent, George Zunza's character as well was very
Who?
out of. He was the season
No, I
one.
know.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, George Sunza.
he was in exactly one season of the show, and they killed him off. But that character was also very much of this kind of style. But Dragnet didn't have a young character like Chris Noth's character, and they didn't get into the lawyer side of things either. It was just the cops.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was an absolutely fascinating watch, and like such a chunk of television history that I wasn't intimately familiar with. Like, that song, the whole names have been changed and all that stuff. That was another thing of Law and Order, the whole rip from the headlines thing. That was something Law and Order did, and here's Dragnet doing it first. Like, it was so cool to just kind of see like on display that DNA, and I thought it was a fascinating pick, Ferg. So, thank you.
It was I appreciated in Ferg's submission his self-referential humor about like how policing's gotten better, right? Because this, in as much as it was a picture of the time as far as policing and the drugs scene, it was just also like very much encapsulated society in general. Like, it was very much a reflection of society in general. This was a white man's show.
Well,
Like-
in 1967, there weren't many other things than that.
Wait, like there was a woman on the force and she was there exclusively so that like, like it seemed like a very new thing, like that men, like the policemen weren't allowed to touch female subjects.
Oh.
And that was her only role. Like,
Did she even show up?
She's just
Yeah, she was there. She was in a skirt.
she was
that
standing in the
thing that-
background in a skirt, like no uniform or anything. Just like
when did uniforms become a thing? Because I thought that they were a thing at that time, and no one's wearing one in that show.
Well, no, because they're
these
detectives.
are detectives,
Right, they the two of them are, but then they dealt with other officers.
Uniformed officers showed up like when they busted up the
Yeah,
the
when they- that's
drug,
right.
the drug thing at the
And
end.
they
yeah.
were when they were like searching the streets. They had a whole
Yep,
bunch of
That's right.
uniforms.
I forgot.
But yeah,
imagine
no
why.
women, no people of color, like even like I don't know. It's just like this exists in a solely white world.
and that's and that like and that's the thing. Like, this is a representation of what 1965 to 70 was like. You can't get away with this now, absolutely, first and foremost, because of the way the information is presented is so straightforward. Like, it's like as if they were all sitting around just reading the script to you. Nobody's really acting, and there's no character in this it's very difficult to connect with any of the characters because of, number one, the time period. Number two, like, nobody's emoting. Like, there's no emotion on the screen at all.
If I can interject, like, I watched shows like, they're not the same, but I would watch something like I Love Lucy or like Bewitched, or like, so I know people in that time could act. Okay, I just want to put that out there. And it was a little bit tough, like, for me watching this, because one of the other things I noticed was like, I said to Evan, I was like, so these episodes consist of walk, drive, cutscene, stand awkwardly close to each other, stand awkwardly close to each other again, talk some more, talk really fast and all kind of monotone, cutscene, drive more, the end.
She said that, and as she was saying that, they pulled up someplace and they both got out on the
On the
passenger
same
side of the car.
Oh my god, you just reminded me of another thing that I was thinking about the whole time watching this. Like, you can definitely see Law and Order's DNA, but you can also see Police Squad's DNA.
Oh shit, yeah. Shit, yeah.
That is true.
And I fucking love Police Squad.
Like, yeah, if this show didn't exist, we wouldn't have things like Police Squad, which is like it's this show turned on its ass kind of thing. Hun, like, what did you like? I know you weren't.
Okay, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I fucking hated this show. I didn't like it at all. I was falling asleep. I just couldn't engage. I was like, you're boring old men. I'm so sorry. Like, even your policing is dumb and your drug addict is stupid too. Like, stop painting your face, you fucking idiot.
Blue Boy was awesome.
I just like couldn't, I don't know. I just like, I couldn't enjoy it. And then I was like, you know what? It's fine though, because I also understand that it is what it is. And I understand its importance. So like, I'm still glad that I can say that I watched that episode. I don't really know anything about Dragnet. I've never known anyone who watched the show. Like I said to Evan, like I don't know if we said that during commercials. We were joking around a little bit, but I was like, well, that's where the music comes from. Like, I didn't realize that is actually from Dragnet for real. Mm-hmm. And so for me, this was an opportunity. Like, I've also never watched MASH, and people rave about how good MASH is. And I know that we actually check the dates. That comes out a few years later. But the point is, like, a lot of television that was made in that time period, even if it's good or has aged well or is important to television, I've just not had a lot of interest in watching. So I'm actually really glad that I had the opportunity to see this and know what it is. And just like you guys were saying, there are definitely things about this that are really interesting. So I would not take that time back. This is not one of those shows where I'm like, oh my God, what has happened here? I like felt things about it. I felt a way about it. And to me, that was better than just watching it and being like, why does this matter? Like, I understood its significance, and I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
What you were saying about there not being a lot of acting in it, it just kind of struck me as like, because of the kind of show that it is, that they didn't really want it to be very acted. Like, they wanted to present it very dry and straightforward. Mm-hmm. The more like true to life it was, the better that was for their show and their like line of propaganda of like, no, this really is like how life is in California, where the all those dirty drug hippies are living, and whatever.
Right. And when you
but like that was clearly a style choice of like, this is a serious matter and we have to handle it seriously, and acting is not for serious men and serious topics, which is, of course, nonsense, because like Shakespeare, but I'm not gonna spell out the steps for you from 1967 Dragnet to Shakespeare. It's there if you want to see it, okay? But like, it just strikes me as like a very male, like, no, we need to take this seriously, and we can't like, this is not a time for silliness and acting. This is a time to like make our point.
Right, and I understand what you're saying, and I get that. But there was a scene that nobody was on screen. It was all the aerial footage, and Friday was doing a voiceover, and that was a deep monologue that was showing certain things. Like, there was emotion. Now, he wasn't yelling or screaming or anything, but like, he was talking about his city and California. Like, there was more emotion in that voiceover work than when he was actually on screen, and I could see his face emote. Like, that was what was weird to me. But it is what it is. And it's so weird because like, I've watched Dragnet the movie also, and that had Tom fucking Hanks in it, and that shit was funny. Like, I don't know how they chose to make that movie from this source material, but I'm okay with it because that movie is goddamn funny, and it's a treasure. So yeah, there's a couple of seasons of this. There was a couple of versions of it. There's 4 seasons of this specific series, this 67 series. A total of over 100 episodes, seems, or close to 100 episodes.
Does it say anything about its popularity? I'm assuming it was popular at the time.
Hold on, let's take a look. IMDb. Let's see.
Well, I would have to imagine that it was if it lasted as long as it did.
Yeah, it's not even it's unfortunately the IMDb rating is like for current times. It's not going to say what it was back in the day, but I mean it's still it's funny. IMDb just asked me how would I rate the LSD story. I'm just going to X out of that.
Whoa.
There was a lot of episodes, so yeah, it had to be somewhat popular, and it's a I don't want to say a remake, but it's a continuation of the original story. So yes, there was this had to be somewhat popular.
You know what I will say, Ferg? It's still better than Walker.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I'm
so
watching that.
I had another issue while watching this.
Okay.
Which is when I was a child. My parents, one of the things that they would bust out at the time of the holidays is a CD that was released July of 1989. Dr. Demento presents the greatest Christmas novelty CD of all time. Mm-hmm. This was like a staple of our house in the holidays. And the last track on that CD, kids ask your parents, is Christmas Dragnet. And it was like a Dragnet parody of these, 2 characters like Friday and his partner, whose name escapes me. And they're arresting a guy who doesn't believe in Santa Claus.
Oh, jeez.
And because he's living what kind of life was it?
Immoral.
Sorry? What was that lifestyle he wasn't living? I mean, that's the problem. If you don't believe in Santa Claus, you're living an amoral, whatever lifestyle.
Idle, dissolute, and immoral.
Yeah, immoral, amoral. Yeah.
So it just is, and they take this guy all around and eventually take him to the North Pole, and he sees Santa and he believes in Santa. And I don't know, just this track is so ingrained in my brain. Like, I watch this and every time I hear like the the sting, they use that in this track. And every time I hear it, I'm thinking about these jokes from my childhood. So I was very distracted during this episode thinking about Christmas in my childhood.
It's actually really sweet though.
Yeah, somehow we got around from, LSD and 1967 Dragnet to a very sweet childhood Christmas memory. I don't know.
Aww.
Way to make it work.
All right, so I'm still on the IMDb page for this episode, and I forgot, I thought about this while watching it, but there was, they have goofs and quotes and stuff, but one of the things, and they're calling this a goof.
Like a blooper?
So there's like continuity errors or whatnot, but this one is listed under goofs, under miscellaneous, and it says LSD can be absorbed through the skin. And as he's palming those sugar cubes, my brain went, that motherfucker's gonna get high. Like, that's how that shit's transferred. Like, I wonder if they're gonna go that deep. Nope. He's just putting that in his pocket. Okay.
The secret is he was high the entire time.
That's the secret. That's the secret.
Speaking of, there was one other thing that I just thought of that I thought was kind of neat. I don't know how often you guys have seen television shows do this, so let me know if I'm wrong, but I don't remember the last time I saw a television show that was just like, in one episode, 6 months later, blah, 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 and continuing the same storyline with like nothing else having happened. Because they did that in this episode. They they were like, and 6 months later.
Well, they had to. So because
it's a timeline.
Yeah, it was pseudo based in reality, like on facts of the creation of the law and whatnot. But it was definitely an interesting way to show the time passing. This is also the first episode of this series, so I don't know if that's like a common thing, but you can see like the Law and Order connection is Law and Order gave you the legal side of the show, which that was like if the show had ended midway through, the second half would be that, hey, they created this law. That's where this theory
Jack McCoy would come in and slap his newspaper down on the table and be like, look at this, we got him.
Yeah, and they just hadn't gotten that fluid yet. They just put up a screen of text and say, hey, this is what happened. And then they literally did throw a couple of books on the table and said, look at this.
I was going to say, what were those books then?
That was the law being passed.
Yeah, see? So there you go. You got your law. And some order.
Oh, honey. Doing so well.
I'm not sorry.
It should be, though. All right, well, there it is. Ferg, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for suggesting it. It was, for me and Kris, it was definitely interesting to see how this past has influenced a lot of the things that we like currently. I will watch
Indeed.
Poof some Naked Gun anytime.
I also want to say just a general thanks to Ferg for sending in an audio submission. That was fun. If anybody listening to this show ever wants to do that, wants to throw us an audio submission on whatever we're going to be watching next, that was a lot of fun. Love hearing from you. Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say, that was very intriguing. Please do more.
This is like, a fresh voice on our podcast. Not these other three idiots I'm always talking to.
I know. Remember when I was fresh?
Yeah. Good times.
I know. It didn't last long. It's okay.
All right. Well, there it is. That is our listener request episode. Kris, do you have your spiel?
I do. I'm ready.
Look at that. There you go. Take it away.
Bake 'em away, toys. This week's episode isn't filmed before a live studio audience, but it is fueled by feedback from listeners like you, and you can get in touch with us in a multitude of ways. We have an official Geekade Discord, where there's an entire This Week's Episode channel dedicated to all things TV talk. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, through official Geekade channels, or the more specific Twepcast accounts, and of course, 4 of us can be found in various ways. I'm available on Twitter at Geekade Kris, that's Geekade Kris. You can read my work at StoneAgeGamer.com and in the pages of Nintendo Force magazine. Karen, where can people find you?
You can find me at STM Stitches on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Etsy.
Angie, where can people find you?
You can find me at A for Not on all my socials, and including TikTok.
Go like her TikTok.
It'll get
Evan,
better,
where can people
guys.
find
Just
you.
comment me.
Kate_Evan.
Sorry.
If you need to know more about the shows we discussed tonight or what we'll be watching in the future, have a look at our show notes, and if you have any other questions at all, we can always be reached at mail@geekade.com. Just include the words "this week's episode" in the subject line so we know who you're trying to reach. This show is, or at least should be, available anywhere fine podcasts are sold, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. And wherever you decide to listen, please like, comment, subscribe, and leave reviews, because any and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. Quick side note, we know there is something wrong with our feed on certain platforms. We are trying to get to the bottom of it. Hopefully it won't be too long, but if you're really having trouble, you can find us on geekade.com. Again, as always, keep your eyes on Geekade for more fresh original content. Back to you, Evan.
All right. Did we decide if we're doing the homework episode or the news episode next week to catch up? Because technically,
we're recording again next week.
I mean, the next time we record, I should say. Because technically,
I have a TWEP news for the 22nd. That's
okay, so next week will be a TWEP news, and then
then Around the World on the 8th.
Okay, so that is your homework. Around the World in 80 Days, Season 1, Episode 1. It's just called Episode 1 because it's a British show. There you have it, folks. Appreciate you joining us on this trip. From all of us here at this week's episode.
This trip.
Fuck, I did it! God damn it!
We got him.
For all of us here at this week's episode, I'm Evan.
I'm Angie.
I'm Karen. God damn it.
Hey, Kris.
Hey.
Good night.
Good night.
He's strung out on sugar cubes.
Good night.
And this concludes our broadcast day.